1-0 Burnley! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes, and Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Patella, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day. And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson, and he's on the outside, comes inside, top shot.
Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest instalment of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redmond, after the Clarets made a massive statement by demolishing Luton Town 4-0 at Turf Moor, which just happened to be the same weekend that Leeds United lost away to Portsmouth, a ground which Burnley didn't lose at, by the way, and we got ridiculed for drawing 0-0 down there by, funnily enough, Leeds fans. What were the Sheffield United score down there? Also 0-0. And Leeds lost 1-0. So Burnley are right back in this mix now. We've been sat here, we've been talking about Sheffield United, hoping that they slip up. It wasn't them that slipped up. It was Leeds. And maybe, just maybe, Leeds are falling apart again. They will definitely 100% be getting twitchy. That will be their arse round about now, the Leeds United fans and the Leeds United players. They will be twitching. But yeah, thank you, everybody. It's great to see loads of comments as well as usual. But first of all, I need to introduce the people that are on the stream. As usual, I could do a stream at 4 o'clock in the morning. I could do it from Australia. I could do it from space. And Andrew would be there. And he is, of course, here. How are you doing, mate? It's good to see, as somebody's already mentioned, we have matching shirts on. That's completely... We didn't plan this, did we, mate? We just have matching shirts on.
No. Only got it yesterday. It one of them where, you know, it's in sale at minute, and if you bought it on the day, you could get someone's name on. You could either get Barnes or Brownhill. So,
who have you gone for?
I had to get Barnesy, and I said I tell you what, I said if he scores at the end of the match, I'm going to run down to Jimmy McUpper, and I'm going to dangle my shirt over edge, and I hope someone's got a picture because I fucking did it.
That's absolutely fantastic. I love the fact that you've done that. John Payne, Andrew is a god. And yeah, genuinely, and you cannot understand how amazing it is to have somebody like Andrew who is always ready. He's always ready, and it doesn't matter what time of day, like I've said, it always is. And we've had somebody as well that's been talking to us on DMs quite a lot, who watches the show regularly. You might know him better as Sue. Not as in Sue, S-U-E, as in like Sue, you know, the Ronaldo celebration, always in the chat. But it's Gary. His real name is Gary, and he's making his debut tonight. Gary, thank you for on the show. How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. It's an excellent game to make a debut from. So, and if I can do 10% of Chris or Sam's job, then I'll be doing a stellar job. Let's put it that way. So,
yeah, to be fair, just be you. That's all I'll say, mate. You don't need to worry about Sam or Chris. As much as we love Sam or Chris on here, it's all about getting different personalities, to be fair. We've got some bad news for John. He says, if Sam and Chris aren't up for this tonight, I'm going to feel let down badly. To be fair, we always ask Sam and Chris, like we always will. Sam's hiking somewhere today or something. I don't know. you all sound, you're all probably looking at that thinking, hiking, I felt the same, but, he's busy, so I can't really force him. And Chris didn't get to go on the game yesterday. He was working at Anfield, so, Anfield or Turf Moor. Turf Moor. But his work have sent him to the turf, so there's not much he can do. But Chris will probably be in the chat, to be fair, at some point if he isn't already. But get your comments coming in. Leeds lost, ha 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 ha, says John Payne. Yes, they did. He sent that at 5:10, by the way, an hour and a half before we'd even started, pretty much. But yeah, obviously great to see that Leeds. I don't have anything against. I'm not one of these fans that just think it's cool to hate Leeds because everyone hates Leeds. I've got nothing against them, but obviously they're at the top end of the Championship, so it is a case of let's hope they lose every single game between now and then. Lee Greenwood, good to see you again, mate. He says, good evening, lads. Been waiting for this one. I bet a lot of people have, to be fair, mate. Scott O'Sullivan says, evening, chaps. Another 3 points gained, and after this weekend's results, it's now game on. It really, really is. Dominic's in the chat. He is a YouTube channel member. He says, evening, lads. Should be a nice and positive show, this. It should be, mate. It should be, but we'll see. There's quite a few things to talk about as well. But yeah, I'm joking, mate. Of course it will be. If you do want to join and become a YouTube channel member, if you're watching now on a browser, there should be a little button underneath that says join, and you can do that, and you get things in there such as early release of the pre-game show, which will, for YouTube channel members, be released tomorrow morning. Claret Blue 1882, he says, evening, Clarets. Thank you, Portsmouth. Thank you, Portsmouth, indeed. Claret Al's in the chat. He says, evening, Clarets. Wayne Ingham says, Leeds lost. Yes, up the Clarets indeed, mate. Dominic Hall says, you're late, Joe. In my defence this week, it is my fault. Normally it's somebody else's fault, but this week I was at the Lane Ends pub. I've just had a couple of pints. One of my old mates rang me at about 5 o'clock and said, do you fancy a beer? I'm like, I've got a live at 6:30, mate, but yes, I do. How many other content creators would still come back for the live? That's all I'm saying. I came back for you guys, mate. I could have had a few more, but I only had 2 pints, and then I came straight here. So if there is a few technical issues, it's probably because I've forgotten what to do. Claret Owl says, if Carlsberg did weekends, 4-0 to the Clarets and Bastards, lose to Derby, Leeds are falling apart again. Can I just pull you up on something there, Claret Owl? One of my pet hates is when people spell lose with 2 O's. It's 1 O, mate. You've just put loose. Bastards lose to Derby. I'm not the other one to pick up on spelling mistakes, to be honest with you, but that is one of my pet hates. Dominic Hall says he's going to drink to that. Wayne Ingham says, let's get the beers in. I've already had a couple, mate. MKP Fave says, evening, Clarets. Wayne Ingham says, you're going to Swansea. People are talking in the chat. That's what I love about this. Buzzing for Bash and Lyle, says John. Yep, me too. We will get into that, as Scott said earlier. Matching shirts. Martin's in the chat. He says, hi, guys. What a game. We had 4-0. Happy Sunday. Evening, Claret says, Claret 22. I don't know which is better, a Blackburn fan's meltdown or a Leeds fan. But how about both in the same weekend, mate? That's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Andrew is a god, as John said. I mentioned that earlier. Bell Differs is in the chat. It says, here we go. He's worse than Andrew's old internet. That's a bit harsh, mate. I just think it's a camera, to be fair. I think it's fine. Jack says, bloody hell, I thought it was Steve Jones. Gary, get used to it, mate. Get used to it, mate. I get so much stick these days. Claret Owl says, hi, Gary. Get Andrew's recommendations on hamsters, mate. We are a friendly bunch. He started already, Andrew. So at least people have sort of moved on from you, Andrew, now, to be fair. Good to see Stuart in the chat. How are you doing, mate? That's dedication for you. Joe says, Dom. Lucas Pires says, Burnley 87. I didn't think he did too bad yesterday, I'll be honest. There was that one incident, which we will talk about. John Payne, a new member. Yes, John, thank you for that, mate. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Twin Cities Claret says, thank you. Lose drives. Sorry, I've fucked up now. Lose/loose drives me. You know what else annoys me? When people spell forest with 2 R's. Like, where's the second R come from? Why are you just shoving a random R in out of nowhere? That's why you came second, Joe. Yeah, fair enough, mate. Welcome to the club, Joe. Worth £3 a month. I think you meant to say, John, worth £3 a month. Definitely, especially support Joe and everything he does for the club. Yeah, and he goes on to say, welcome to the club, John. Sorry. Scott O'Sullivan says, what the hell is going on with the 12:30 at Coventry? I don't know, mate. Hold on a second. What's going on here? Right, we'll try again with you, Gary, but you have been relegated now to the bottom spot because you've come back in. Your internet must actually be a little bit shit, to be fair. Lee Greenwood says, using an old Nokia as a webcam. Yeah, to be fair, Gary, I don't think your internet is the best, but I'll give you the same advice I gave Andrew. If your Wi-Fi is shit, try it on your 4G. That does help. And I think that's what Andrew's doing tonight, to be fair, because you can see Andrew on a clear image. You can very rarely see Andrew on a clear image. Right. Let's get on to it, Andrew. We'll come to you first, because obviously Gary does seem to be having a few internet issues. Thoughts on the game, please, mate?
Honestly, I'm still on, like I said in my fan reaction, I'm still on cloud nine from yesterday, where I thought we started off slow. You know, I thought first half quite a few misplaced passes. You know, we struggled to get into it a little bit, but as soon as they got the red card, like, it was game over for them pretty much. And I mean, the own goal going in, it opened the game up so much more because they had to come and attack us. And I think the fact that they were down to 10 men having to come for us just made it so much more open. And yeah, like I say, I'm still on cloud nine. It's such a good result, and the performance as well. Like, we've had a lot of games this season where we've got the result and the performance hasn't been good, or we've managed to get a result. You know, we've put in a performance and we haven't got the result.
Yeah.
And yesterday it was just like the perfect mix. And, you know, it were cracking flags out there as well. It was absolute beautiful weather. So, you know, it all round just a good day.
Yeah, it really, really was. It genuinely felt like an end of the season match, didn't it? With the with the great weather. Obviously, just some stats on your screen now. As you can see, Burnley's XG was 2.83. That's got to be up there with the highest we've. I don't know if it is the highest or definitely just up there in and around the highest we've had this season. 72% possession, 16 shots to their 3, only 3 on target. And we scored 4 goals. Obviously, one of them was an own goal. That's probably my only criticism from yesterday, is the fact that we didn't convert it into more shots on target. But having said that, the XG was still 2.83, so it was still obviously very, very high. And yeah, 6 corners to their 4. I mean, take these stats with a pinch of salt, because obviously they had a man sent off quite early on. But it's still, nonetheless, you can only play what's put in front of you. You can only play the situation that's put in front of you. And if you cast your mind back to Blackburn, the home game earlier in the season, they obviously had a man sent off. Then they just stumped the place out, got a lucky goal. And I did kind of sort of like think to myself yesterday when they had a man sent off, like maybe, just maybe, they're just going to sit back and just completely stink the place out. But thankfully, we managed to get it over the line, and we managed to have a convincing win, and a win that's taken us now to just 2 points off the top, thanks to a Portsmouth win today. Gary, we'll come to you next, mate. Your thoughts on the game, please, mate, and the Burnley performance. I think you're muted, mate. I don't know if you are muted or it's. I can't hear you, mate. I can't hear you. It might be you might need some better hamsters, mate. I tell you what, we'll read some comments out while you try and sort that, mate. Lee Greenwood says everything made for a fantastic feel-good day. It really, really did. Absolutely brilliant. The sun was fantastic. The weather was fantastic, and the result was fantastic. I think I tweeted actually before the match off my personal account. So that's saying the weather's nice. You know, I'm buzzing. Burnley are at home. It's a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff. Everything were absolutely fantastic with the game yesterday. So it were really fantastic. 23 undefeated. You know what, Bell? I'm glad you've mentioned that, because I kind of feel like, I know a few fans and a few pages like myself have mentioned it, but do you remember when we went 23 undefeated against, under Sean Dyche? And it was absolutely superb, and fucking everybody were going on about it, and it was this big, massive thing. Kind of feel like now it's just kind of been not swept under the carpet, but people aren't as fussed about it. And that annoys me a little bit. I feel like we should be making more of it. Yes, we're 23 undefeated again. It's massive. It was massive a few years ago when it happened under Dyche in 2016. It should be massive now. Go on, Andrew. You look like you want to say something.
I think that's because that 23 undefeated it led us to that 23rd game was the Charlton game, weren't it, where we won 4-0, and we lifted the title at the end of it, and it was like the end of the season. If we, look back to the company season, and again, I don't want to, we don't want to compare and stuff. We only got to 22, and then we lost. I can't remember who we lost against. I think it was
QPR. I think it were, weren't it? Yeah.
QPR. So we've still got 10 games left. We can still beat the Sean Dyche 23 undefeated, and I think as soon as that happens, if it does happen, which I hope so, if it happens, I think so much more will be made about it. But I think because you look at this season and you've got the 0-0, the amount of 0-0s we've got, and we've had the amazing defensive record, they're the ones that people are focused on. No one seems to care about this 23, but I bet as soon as we make it 24 on Tuesday night, that'll be it everywhere.
You know what? I was saying to my dad, we have now seen Burnley go half a season unbeaten twice in our lifetime, and the last time we went 22 unbeaten. Some fans don't get anywhere near that. Even and I know it's different kettle of fish because they're in the Premier League, but even Man United and Liverpool fans, they don't get to see that as often as we have. And we've been absolutely superb, and I do feel like that maybe, just maybe, we should be talking about it a little bit more. So I'm glad Bell mentioned it. I don't think Bell's his real name, but I'm glad he did, and I do feel like we should be talking about it a bit more. But obviously that's why we mentioned it now on the show. Gary, we'll try again. I think your microphone's working. Can you hear me? There it is. I can hear you. Your thoughts on the game, please, mate. And I just actually want to, before you do, mate, I just want to point out this comment from Mike, which made me laugh when nobody could hear you. There you go. Apparently, you were speechless with the win. But yeah, your thoughts on the game, please, mate.
Yeah, what I will say is probably my favourite game of the season, arguably, maybe joint with Cardiff. But I think the thing that tipped it over was the Sun, which sounds stupid, but the Sun's out. We're winning 4-0. We're getting one over on Kaminsky. A few bevies, they were as absolutely solid performance. And I'm not Parker's biggest fan, and I've been his critic many times, but I think he did well. And that red card, which I'm sure we'll get onto, was a definite red for me. But yeah, perfect game, I think, and perfect for the West Brom game coming up, because that's a massive one, as I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, it's massive, and obviously it's a difficult game, but we'll get into that towards the end. And Gary, you have just mentioned the red card, so I will stick with you. And we have got a screenshot on screen now. Obviously, those of you who watch the show regularly will be aware that obviously I can't show the full incident for copyright reasons, but this I think just sums it all up. And like I said, Gary, I'm going to stick with you. But I haven't seen the first yellow back because it's not on any of the highlights packages that I've watched. Obviously, I was on the match. I screened for it at the time. What I will say is I feel like the referee was quite card happy. However, what I also feel like Brownhill's got his back to goal, so he's not going anywhere. It's not like he's going to get the ball on the half turn and run and then he's in. I just think this is absolutely a ridiculous challenge. He's gone to ground for no reason. He's tackled him. You can cry if any Luton fans are watching this now, which I don't think they are, but you can cry and mourn about the first yellow all you want. You've got to look at your player at this one and think, why the F is he going to ground in this situation when he's already on a yellow? That is 100% a second yellow card, and for that reason alone, in my opinion, regardless of the first one, he should have been sent off.
Yeah, I mean the first one with that Loren, where he need it and he was going to be through potentially, and then the players named here clipped him and then took him out basically. So that was the first yellow. That's for me, it's 100% a yellow. And then this one, like you say, I was saying to my mate who I sit next to, what an idiot he is. Why would you do that if you're already on a yellow? But as always with these players, they see red mist or the brain don't work in that moment, and then they're just right, I'll go for him and get the ball. And then obviously, but for me, 2 yellows, 100%. They could complain all they want about that one, but for me, that's 2 yellows. He's just player's just an idiot. Simple as that.
Fair enough. Like I said, I've still not seen the first one, but Dominic just does say to me it's on the EFL YouTube channel. I'll watch it. But so he just think they're both yellows. MJH Gaming says even if the first wasn't a yellow card, the second definitely was. So as he was already booked, he had to be a second yellow card. That's exactly what I said, mate. I completely agree. Martin Stevenson says got the ball and the man. The way he refereed the game was always going to be booking for that. I agree. I do feel like the referee was quite card happy. But even so, like if you know the referee is card happy, why are you going to ground there? To be fair, John Robertson says first yellow. Loren needs the ball away and then gets absolutely clattered. I honestly think the first one is close to a red. To be fair, Claret Owl says, OMG, Gary taking tips from Andrew on being the weather reporter now, learning quick, mate. To be fair, I think I was talking about the weather as well on Twitter yesterday, but yeah, that's Andrew's thing, mate. Twin City says, should be a yellow on account for stupidity alone. Just got a yellow 5 minutes before. Lee Greenwood says, I watched them back, both are blatant yellows. Stephen L says, first yellow was high, may have touched the ball, but also got Loren's knee. Simon Woodhouse says, sending off all day long. Claret Owl says, name if lost a plot. Jack says, definitely 2 yellows. Michael Chopra. My camera's gone off now, but you can't see that just yet. So we'll just leave this screen on. I don't know why the fuck my camera's doing that, but we'll come into that in a bit. Hopefully you can all hear me. Can everyone still hear me? Yeah. Yeah, sweet. We'll leave it at that then for now. If we have to leave it like that, we'll leave it like that. Lee Greenwood says, Joe, quickly watch it back. It's blatant. I'll try in a minute, mate, when I let Andrew have a talk in a minute. MKP Fave says, I get the feeling that the fans' attitude this season, a little like after the Lord's Mayor's show, it's just an odd vibe after the company season. That's affecting the atmosphere at the turf. I think you're obviously talking about the 23 undefeated thing, which I do agree with that, to be fair, mate. I think it's a good point. And Martin Stevens says, Joe agreed with my again. That's twice this season. Yeah, don't get used to it, Martin. Claret 22 says, if you dive in on a yellow, you give the ref an easy decision to make. Completely agree. And Claret Blue 1882 says, definitely both yellow cards. Again, mate, completely agree. Andrew, we'll come to you, mate. Please talk as long as you possibly can while I try and sort this yellow card, this camera out. But what are your thoughts on the second yellow card, please, mate?
Yeah, I think I actually agree with John from earlier. Like, I think he was very lucky to get away with not getting a red for the first one. In the last week, obviously, we've seen the horror challenge on Mateta by Millwall, high challenge. But, you go in at that height with your foot that high and Laurent's breaking away. All right, he's not going to be through one-on-one. He's not going to be denying a goal-scoring opportunity, but he's breaking away, and you've gone in a high foot, and you're giving the ref a decision to make. So I agree with John. He's quite lucky to get away with not getting a red there. And then the second one, like it was just a brain dead challenge. You're already on a yellow card. You've gone through the back of a player, and the following legs just taking him. So yeah, I can't see how there can be any arguments against it, to be honest. They're both blatant yellow cards, and yeah, it was just a brain dead moment for him. Like, when you're already on a yellow card like that, you don't really make a challenge like that, and for him to do it so soon after already being booked, it was just daft, weren't it? But like I said, I feel like that not changed the game, but opened it up a lot more for us. And like Twin Cities Claret says there, he didn't really argue with it. No one could really argue with it. The Luton players didn't really argue it. It was just one of them where he obviously knew he'd made a mistake, and it was a blatant red card.
Yeah, you know what? Can you hear me, by the way, before I carry on talking?
Yeah.
Yep, sweet. I've literally just got it up now, and I know I can't show it you all, but the defender messes up. Loren needs... Mate, I'm sorry. What on earth are the Luton fans complaining about? I'll very, 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 very quickly try and get you guys a screenshot for those of you that haven't seen it. But Loren definitely gets in there. To call it potentially a red, I think it's probably a stretch. But it is 100% a blatant yellow card. I'll just very quickly get it on screen for you guys. Now, look at the state of this. Look at the state. I'm sorry. How Matt Bloomfield and the Luton fans... look at that. Look at that. He's off the ground. That's a yellow card all day.
Is their argument not that he got a touch of the ball, though, which, like...
Well, to be fair, I've literally just seen that then and then paused it, so let me look at the replay.
But, even so, even if he gets a touch of the ball, that's not a rule anymore. If you use excessive force, you get a card. And that, for me, he blatantly does that.
Yeah. Just having a look now. This is awful audio. I mean, does he get a touch of the ball? I'm not sure. The player heading it now, Loren, nah. That's a yellow card. He's gone in high, stood showing. Genuinely, that is a yellow card. I have no idea what Matt Bloomfield and the Luton fans are going on about. If those of you that watched the pre-game show, we had the Luton fan on whose name has immediately escaped me. Apologies if he's watching this on the OK Football Show. He would text me saying, this referee is bang on your side. That was never a yellow card. I'm sorry, mate. If you see this, was he called Richard? I can't remember. It probably wasn't Richard. But that's a blatant yellow card. And I genuinely, and I like to feel like I'm one of these fans that's quite balanced. And I will happily say when a referee gets it wrong in our favour, I feel like he's got them two absolutely spot on, if I'm going to be honest with you. You said there, Andrew, you stopped short of saying you feel like it changed the game. I genuinely, it's a red card, mate. Like, it's changed the course of the game. We've had a slice of fortune in the sense that they had a man sent off and they scored an own goal, but it definitely 100% has changed the game, I think, that red card.
Yeah, because the lad who's been brought on, I think like 5 minutes after that, they've brought a lad on, is it McGuinness, to, shore up the defence, and 5 minutes after he's come on, he's put ball into the back of his own net. So, like, it definitely changed it. But I feel like it just opened it up a lot more because of that. After they've had that man sent off and scored an own goal, they've had to open up a little bit and come and attack. And I think if they hadn't scored the own goal, they would have sat back and stunk the place out like Blackburn did when they come to turf and got a man sent off. But the fact that, we've scored so quickly after that red card, they had to open up. Like, I agree with you with the ref was card happy, and there were some decisions which I'm sure will come on a little bit later, which, I can see from the Luton side a little bit. But for them two yellow cards, like, they are blatant cards. It's, like I say, I think it's a little bit one of them where he's lucky not to get sent off for the first one. But even if you think, oh, that would be harsh, you have to see the two yellow cards as what they are.
Yeah, completely agree. I think they're both yellow cards, and I'm having watched that first one back, and that being the one that the Luton fans mentioned a lot. I'm very surprised to say that they mentioned that one. They're both yellow cards, and it's stupid defensively. Yes, they may have scored an own goal, but I just feel like that shows how poor they are defensively, because they've been quite poor defensively all season. And I think, to be fair, it did show yesterday. Lee says referee looked like Russell Howard on steroids. Have you seen Russell Howard these days, mate? He's actually quite stacked, to be fair. So it could have just been Russell Howard. Let's move on to another incident that the Luton fans weren't very happy with. And I've mentioned this one in my fan reaction, so I will just very quickly bring it on screen now and talk. In fact, before I do that, I want to bring this comment up from John. It says, talking of yellows, with Cullen on a yellow, Burnley 3-up, Luton down to 10 and over half an hour to go. How nice would it have been to see Joe Barres in the squad and have him give him a run out? You know what? The reason why I brought that up, John, and I'm not even going to put this to the panel, but I completely agree with you on the first part of it. I wouldn't care less who was brought on. But when we were 3-0 up, and then he took Brownell off. I understand why he took Brownell off. I understand why he took Edwards off, because they're, the two most creative players, you could argue. Obviously, Brownell scored a lot of goals this season. Edwards is probably the best player going forward that we have. I just remember thinking, like, take Cullen off as well. He's on a yellow. If he gets sent off now, and he's like one of our most important players, I know you, John, you agree with me on how important Cullen is and how much he makes us tick. I still believe he's one of the best DMs in the Championship. And I did some filming with Green King recently, and I had to do a combined 11 with Leeds, Sunderland, and Sheffield United. In every single one of them, I put Cullen in there, and I don't think any of the other fans had him in there. I just don't understand fans. They don't understand how much he makes us tick, and that was my worry. I remember thinking, like, we need to take him off now before he gets sent off, because he could make another stupid challenge. But obviously, Cullen, he's a very intelligent footballer. I don't think he tried to make another tackle after that, because he knew if he gets it wrong, then he is going off. Anyway, the next controversial incident was this one. Now, it looks like absolutely nothing on screen, but this was just before Burnley scored the second goal through Lyle Foster. We get the second goal because this player has the ball on the edge of the D, as you can see there. The referee gets in his way. And now what he does here is he tries to sort of like dribble round the referee. He stops, the referee moves, and then Josh Brownhill tackles him. It's a great tackle from Brownhill. But what I think this player should do here, and why I think he is stupid, for want of a better phrase, is he should just run into the referee. If he runs into the referee or kicks the ball at the referee, it's an indirect free kick because they're the rules these days, right? If the ball hits the referee stops play and Luton have possession. That's what he should have done. But he didn't. He just gave up and then Brownhill tackled him. I just think it's poor football from the Luton lad. Yes, I understand the frustration. The referee got in the way. But I am 100% certain if that was Brownhill or Cullen or Fleming or any of our main sort of like midfield lads, they would get a free kick out of this because they just run it into the box. Gary, I'm gonna come to you first on this one. What are your thoughts on this incident, please, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with you. You either run into the referee. If you look on the picture, look how much space there is on the right. He could boot it out for throwing if he's that bothered about it. He could even pass to the guy on the left. I mean, let's just say this attacks on the Burnley side. How many times have we seen him just hoof it, just get rid of it? And he's trying to dribble around the referee. Even if he is in the way, then just get rid of it and then complain afterwards. Why you can't complain after the fight? It's just don't watch for me that. So again, I think perfectly fine with that one. So
yeah, completely agree. Andrew, your thoughts, please, mate.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Like he's got plenty of options there. I can see why Luton are aggrieved. You know, I can not necessarily feel for him, but I can see a little bit more here why they're aggrieved compared to the 2 yellow cards. But like I said, the lad's got plenty of options, and you know he's just like you said, just a little bit stupid not to take any of them and then complain after it. And you know I don't want this referee supposedly being in the way to take away from Brownhill's tackle because he puts in a great challenge and keeps the ball alive from an opportunity that you know potentially we would have let go away.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agree. I just feel like their player should have been a little bit more intelligent with this situation. Clarence Blue 1882 does say the referee I agree he gets in the way. I don't disagree with that. I just feel like he should have been a bit more intelligent with it. I understand in the heat of the moment, you sometimes don't think in that way. But that's what separates the men from the boys. Like that's what separates your Cullens from your whoever this guy is. You know what I mean? Like no disrespect, I have no idea who it is. The referee was our 11th outfield player, says Dom. That's quite funny to be fair. Eric Hartley says the Luton reporter was the shortened version of Richard. I think you mean Dick. But I'm allowed to say it, it's a name. If YouTube are listening to this. Stephen L says Cullen doesn't get the fancy numbers of goals for assists, but he's integral to us. A bit rose tinted. I would be shouting if it was us. I know what you're saying, mate, and I do agree. I just feel like he should be, and I said it already, but I feel like he should just be more intelligent in this moment, and he isn't. Interesting that Parker is now starting Foster instead of Fleming. We will come on to the Fleming debate in a bit, and I'm very interested to get Gary's thoughts on it because he has been quite critical of him, to be fair. So I do want to ask Gary about that, but we'll come on to that later. The next incident was this one. A handball in the build-up to the second goal. I mean, it's one of them. I think it would have been harsh if it had been disallowed. But again, Claret Al, you might accuse me of being rose-tinted. I just feel like it bounces up. It's one of them ones that is sometimes given with VAR, so people feel like they have a case for it in some incidents. But it also should never be given with VAR. Like it's Anthony's tried to take this man on. He's turned him inside out because, as you can see at the minute, the guy's facing their own fucking way for a start. He's facing the home fans. Like, what is that defender even doing there? Obviously, Anthony's feinted to go on the outside. He's coming the inside. He's then hit the guy's heel and then bounced up, hit Anthony's hand, and then Anthony's obviously put it in the cross of Foster to score the goal. It's never an handball. It's never an handball, in my opinion. Andrew, I'll come to you first on this one. Your thoughts, handball or not?
No, you look at the reaction of the Luton players, and that usually says it all. And I think apart from the lad that it hits, you know, not many of them really complained about it. I think it looks like it hits his elbow more than his hand, which I know they say any part of the body that's below the sleeve is classed as handball, but Like, that'd be very, very harsh if you're not, if you are going to rule that out. But VAR are going to disallow it. Like, in the Prem, that does get disallowed. But it'd be very, very harsh to disallow it.
Completely agree. I think I'm surprised that their managers even mentioned it. I'm going to be honest with you. That's how ridiculous I think it is. Gary, your thoughts on it, please, mate?
Yeah, mine's probably similar to Andrew's, to be honest. If this is Premier League, then that goes to VAR, and then the goal doesn't get given. But what I will say is, the handball rule, I'm very confused over it, because if this happens in the opposite box, then it's not a penalty. So this is where it's very confusing. But in terms of the actual handball, I would say if they give a free kick to Lewin, I wouldn't be surprised. But then again, I'm not surprised with the quality of refereeing that we've got.
Yeah, I mean,
That they've let
go on,
it
mate. Sorry.
pass, to be honest. So, I mean, if out of all the decisions we'll look at, other than the one that you're probably going to go to next, this is probably the one that they could be most egregious about, I would say, in terms of for
fair
me
enough.
personally.
What I will say is, I agree it gets given, as Claret Al says on screen there, and as Lee says, and both of you said, this is what Lee says, VAR would have 100% ruled the goal out, but it's hit the back of his arm after deflecting. It shouldn't be a handball. And that is my point. I agree VAR would rule it out, but they shouldn't do. But VAR doesn't know what it's doing, in my opinion, sometimes, because as you just said there, Gary, the handball rule is very confusing. Like, look at the one that Sander Berg got disallowed at Forest last season. Yes, they disallowed it, but they probably shouldn't have done. But I just feel like if it hits the arm these days with VAR, they give it. It don't make any sense. Martin Stevens says intentional, no, but in the PL that gets ruled out. Yeah, as I've said, I already agree. Tom Smith says, I think Luton would have complained if we scored a 30-yard screamer yesterday. Not sure what the issue is with any of these. MKP Fave says, the facts are, if VAR reviewed the goal, it would have been given because Anthony didn't score. Foster did. Maybe, mate. Is that genuinely the rule? I don't know. You might know more than me on that one. But having said that, Sander Berg didn't score. He squared it for Foster, actually, to be fair, in the Forest one. So I guess that argument falls down there. New Name says, unfair. How's he supposed to save that? Obviously, responding to the comment we just put on earlier with Tom Smith. Obviously, there are more controversial incidents if you are a Luton fan. And to be fair, this one I can kind of understand where they're coming from. It's the third goal. Marcus Edwards looks to have run the ball out of play, but even though I think it probably is out of play, it is inconclusive. And Clarett Al, you're probably going to say that's rose-tinted glasses, and it probably is. I have not seen a clip of this where it is 100% over the line because of the poor camera angles. What I will say, at the time that this happened, I didn't celebrate initially because I thought, that's out. No way they're going to give that's out. But obviously they don't give it. And I've seen it from 3 or 4 different angles now. And this is the one from behind the goal, which is kind of the angle that I had at the time because I sit in this stand and that's kind of the view I had at the time. And it looks over there. But can you tell whether or not the full ball is over the line? No, it probably is, in my opinion. But again, it's inconclusive, in my opinion. It is genuinely inconclusive. Andrew, we'll come to you first on this one. What are your thoughts on it, please, mate?
It's out. It's very, very, very hard to tell. And, fair enough for the linesman. Like, he's gonna struggle seeing it. He's got his view blocked by Edwards because of how it is, but yeah, for me that's it. It was out, and I was the same as you. I was hesitant to celebrate because for me it had gone out, and yeah, that's the one
these angles do look like they're out. Thank you to John Robertson for just very quickly sending me that on WhatsApp. That's how quick I am, John. Did you see that? But yeah, it's basically a zoomed in version of mine, a little bit, a couple of frames extra. It does look out from there, and I agree with you, Andrew. Like I do think it probably is, but there is no evidence at any point to say it is 100. Maybe I'm just hanging on to something here that as a Burnley fan, I think it probably is over the line, but I have not seen a frame or a still where it is definitely 100% over the line, and that's the only reason why I will stop short of saying it's definitely out. But I think it probably is out, if I'm honest with you.
From the angle I were at, because obviously I sit Jimmy McUpper, but like seats like 1, 2, and 3 and stuff. So like I'm right at the end, so it is a bit of an angle. And as soon as Edwards ran it like that, I thought that looks 100% out of play. But I'll take it. Like, don't get me wrong. We've had some this season where it's been ridiculous, so I'll take it. But that's probably the one where I agree with Luton fans. Like it is out for me anyway.
Dominic Hall says the ball is not fully out there, in my opinion. John Payne says, I don't know the rules. All I know is I was better. I think that's about a different one, John, to be honest with you. Martin Stevenson says, just like the foul on Trafford last season wasn't a foul, that's not out of play. I do like that, mate. It has a way of working itself out, even if it takes a season. VAR would not. I think that's about the other one earlier, to be fair. New name. Again, that's a different one. Lee Greenwood says there's another angle along the line. If it stays in, it's by a few millimetres. Claret Blue 1882 says a mate of mine who was in line said the ball was miles over. Scott Armstrong said linesman's fault. I couldn't give a toss. The goal stood. End of. New name says I was about side on with that one in the upper north, and I thought it was out initially. Claret Al says, no, I have my rose tinted glasses on now, and the ball is probably only not out fully. And it's not the full ball, probably 2/3. Dominic Hall says, I've changed my mind now you've zoomed in, Joe, to be fair. Scott Armstrong says, I sit right behind the goal of the Jumac. It's 100% out of play, but hey-ho, I wasn't the linesman. Paul Wilkinson says, it was out from the North Star. I think the majority of people who watched it at the time thought it was out. But again, I will sit here and say the same thing. I don't think anything is in. It shows it as conclusive evidence. Clara L says there is a better angle of it, and it's in. Apologies, I haven't seen that one. If I knew it, I would have brought it in. Confirmed on the EFL highlights that it was out, says Paul. I will very quickly get that one up again, then Paul, and try and find that out. But Gary, we'll come to you, please, next, mate. What are your thoughts on that third goal incident? Do you think it was over the line or not?
Over the line for me, but I can see why they've not said anything. Because imagine if you're the linesman, you're on the far left of this image. You've got a white line, white ball, white boots, white socks everywhere, and you're supposed to figure out whether a white ball. Just a very hard job. So, and to be honest, I sit in James Hargreaves, right near the cricket field, so I have the worst angle of this.
Yeah,
you could never think of. So, but I think it was out personally rewatching the highlights. But what I will say is this is like what, third or fourth issue that Luton have had. There's only so many that you can bring up before you're just upset that you lost the game because you weren't as good. So,
yeah, I'm just watching the EFL highlights now, and hold on, even this one though, right? I'll quickly bring this screenshot in. Have I done it right? Yeah.
this
sorry.
is like that. It's like that Arsenal game. If you remember.
I feel like I'm on VAR here and everyone's waiting for me. Just let me very quickly do it. This one does look pretty damning, but at the same time, it's still not 100%. I don't know. It might just be out. Let me quickly bring it up. It's loading. It's taking a while. Oh, come on. Right, there we go. Look, again, I'll try and zoom in. So, guys, if you want to very quickly, Andrew, I'll come to you. Does this change anything for you? If you look at it, though, the right-hand side of the ball is still cut off a little bit by that post. So, in my opinion, I'm going to try and zoom in now and see if I can find anything else. But in my opinion, I still think that's probably still inconclusive, but I don't know if I'm just claret tinted glasses again here. What are your thoughts, Andrew, after seeing this new, fresh angle?
I feel like I'm in Stockley Park here, mate. I can understand why it takes so long. I'll never boo VAR again. No, yeah, that I don't know. It's harsh, isn't it? Like you say, it's harsh for the linesman to try and make that decision there. For me, that convinces me more that it's in than the other
really?
Than the other angle. That convinces me more that it's in. Because, like you say, you can still see a little bit of the ball. But look, if that little millimetre of the ball that you can't see is over the white line, then it's in. So that for me, that for me convinces me more that it was in.
This is what I mean. Claret Owl says there's a little bit of the ball still hidden by the post.
Yeah.
And that is the point I'm trying to make. Yes, the majority of the ball is over the line, but that is not the rule. The rule is the whole ball has to be over the line. Is the whole ball over the line there? I'm not sure it is. There's a little bit of the ball, still a very minuscule amount. A very, very minuscule amount of the ball is still hidden by the post. And I think that even though I was told to look at this to prove that it was out, I think that has told me more that it's in, like you, Andrew. Gary, your thoughts, please. Hold on a second. I love this. On a 50-inch screen, don't matter how big your TV is, mate. I'm sorry. It don't matter how big your TV is.
Not the
a little bit of the ball is still hidden by the post, Paul. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm clutching at straws, but I genuinely feel that there's a little bit of the ball, a little bit of the ball still hidden by the post, and therefore that tells me that it's in. Gary, your thoughts, mate?
It's still out for me, I'm afraid. But it's inconclusive, like you say. But what I will say is, look at the linesman. Look at his position there. I mean, it's not his fault. Yeah, you have to think of
good
a split
spot.
second. But,
yeah, good spot.
How is he supposed to call it from there?
He's not going to judge it from there, is it? Is it?
No. So it's a tough one.
This is what I mean, though. Like, there's three of us on here now. We've all got different opinions on it. And then you've got, obviously, Paul in the chat who thinks it's out. But yet you've got Stephen L says it don't have to be a yard over, to be fair. But Claret Owl says ball still hidden by the post. Dominic Hall says it made no difference the outcome, as I've said previously. Yeah. Tom Smith still says that's in. Martin Stevenson says that's in. Mr. Shadow says that in. Mike says it's out. Martin Stevenson says you need to get an eye prescription checked out, Paul, if you think it's out. But then Phil does say it's out. Dominic Hall says it could. Genuinely, it could. But this is what I mean. Like, Paul, you need to get a smaller TV, says Stephen. I love that. But even though, after all this, even though it's a black and white rule, the entire ball has to be over the line, it's still inconclusive because there is no angle that definitively says whether it's out or in. And that is why it should have stood. However, what I will say is, at the time, I did think it was out, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I did think it was out, and I'm obviously glad we got away with it. I'm glad we got away with it. Guys, it's good to see your faces again, by the way. We've been just showing screenshots for ages. Right, let's move on to actual individuals and performances then. Gary, I want to come to you first on Lyle Foster, because I've been sat here a lot and sort of like saying we need to play Lyle in the 9 and have somebody like Brownhill or Fleming in the 10. I love Josh, and I feel like he gets a lot of unnecessary stick from a lot of the Burnley fan bases, but we're not, a lot of the Burnley fan base, should I say, but we're not here to discuss Josh. I want to discuss Lyle. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. He led the line quite well. He ran the channels. He held the ball up. The ball stuck to him. He made runs. He created space. He did everything that you want a number 9 to do, and he scored a goal. However, I know some fans still aren't massively convinced on him. And I know, look, listen, one swallow doesn't make a summer, right? He's only scored against Luton. He needs to start doing it a bit more convincingly. I agree with that. But also what I will say is I have recently lost my faith in him until yesterday, whereas I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And if he can play like that regularly, then I think he might be an asset going forward. What were your thoughts on Lyle's performance yesterday, mate? And what are your thoughts on him sort of as a forward going into the rest of the season now, please, mate?
Well, yesterday he played quite well. There were little bits where, before he scored, I was just like, you shouldn't be on the pitch, because I've been quite vocal in terms of my thoughts on Lyle Foster. His pressing's ridiculously good, and he does try. I've never put that against him. He does really try, but in my eyes, a striker's on the pitch to score goals. That's what you want, especially when you're trying to go for promotion. You need goals. The best goal scorer in our team, other than Josh Brownhill, would probably be Fleming. But then again, you can't play them both. But then Fleming's rubbish at pressing compared to Foster. So
yeah,
it really depends what you want in that particular match. And then there's a real decision now for Scott Parker to make, because let's say you play Foster in the 9, you've got Anthony, who's playing ridiculously well in the left wing compared to the right wing spot. Edwards obviously going to play right wing, and then you've got the 10. You can't drop Brownhill because he's Brownhill. So where does Zion Fleming go? You've got Hannibal. where does he fit in? So there's just too many players that make it hard work, I think. So it's between Foster and Fleming, and personally, I want people to score goals. So I would still say Fleming. But if Foster could sort out his shooting boots and get a bit more confident, then maybe he could be the number 9. So
Yeah, you know what, mate? I understand your point about goals, and that is the most frustrating thing about Lyle. He's only scored 2 league goals this season, and he should have scored more. In the Championship, going for his performance in the Premier League last season, admittedly, he came in flashes, and obviously he spent a lot of time out. But he still showed that he should have more than 2 in the Championship. But he does bring, in my opinion, I like Fleming, but I do feel like he brings more to the side than Fleming, especially Fleming in the recent 3-4 weeks. I feel like Fleming, the ball hasn't stuck to Fleming. When the ball gets pumped up to Fleming, it just bounces off him, and he's not been scoring, so he's not been offering anything. Like the ball would bounce off him, but then he'd pop up with a header like he did against Blackburn. You know what I mean? Whereas now I feel like yesterday, the ball was sticking to Foster. He was making the runs, like I said, making space, and he got the goal. So I think if now we score, I think for me now that it is Lyle. It has to be Lyle now, I think, going forward, and Brownhill, which again leads me on to another question, which I'm going to ask in a bit, but we've been talking about that ball incident for ages, we're running out of time. It leaves a debate on Loren and Hannibal, but I think at the minute, I think you've got to go with Fleming. With Fleming, completely made the point I want to make, and I said the wrong player, with Foster. Yeah, obviously I understand people have been frustrated with Foster, and so have I recently. Annoyingly, I've stuck by him for ages. Then I immediately said, no, I'm done with him. It's time. I'm losing patience. And then he goes and scores, making me look like an idiot. So, yeah, it's interesting. Andrew, come to you next, please, mate. What are your thoughts on the Fleming and Foster? Well, no, not the Fleming-Foster debate. Let's ignore that. What are your thoughts on Lyle Foster's performance yesterday, please, mate?
That was probably the best performance for me that I've seen Lyle Foster put in for us. I know obviously he had that game against Villa last year, and you know he had the game against Reading this season, but you know that yesterday was the Lyle Foster that I wanted us to sign, and you know I've wanted us to see all season. We all sort of want to see that Lyle Foster. I've been very critical of him this season, and you know, even when we got the starting lineup yesterday, as soon as I saw he was in the starting 11, I thought, oh, we're basically starting with 10 men. But I hold my hands up. Yesterday, he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
He just needs to now do it consistently. You know, I don't want to say he has to start every single game now because he scored a tap-in effectively. However, you know, if this allows him to kick on, then yeah, fair enough. But I do want him to start on Tuesday night over Fleming. I think he leads the lines a lot better, and yesterday, you know, he showed what he can do. But yeah, he just needs to start converting chances more. And like on midweek, I were absolutely furious with him for not taking that shot against Cardiff and deciding to pass it back. I want him to take more risks. I want him to have the shot. You know, I want him to take those chances and actually go for it rather than try the safe, easy thing. And I'm hoping now that he will actually start doing that. Joe, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't even realise I was. Fucking hell. Let's read it all again. I've not even pressed that, so why has it done that stupid thing? Yeah, sorry, David. I've been sat here talking about your comment for ages, and you've not said anything. Right, sorry, my bad. David Holgate says, Fleming is the worst header of a ball, barring one assist with his head that I've ever seen. He would have at least 5 extra goals this season if he could head a ball towards goal. I agree with what you're saying, David. When the ball is pumped up to him, I think that's the point you're making. He doesn't flick it on. Or like I said earlier, the ball just bounces off him and he tries to chest it or whatever. And I agree with that. But he scored against Blackburn with his head. Let's remember that. So I feel like he can do it. But I agree, mate. I feel like when you're pumping the ball up to him, it does need to be better in the air. So I feel like you've made a good point, but you've just obviously forgotten about that goal against Blackburn, to be fair. Right, next point I want to talk, and like I said, I am going to wrap it up pretty soon. Hannibal / Loren. Interesting debate, this one. I feel like out of the two, and I've criticised Loren on the fan reactions recently, even though I was a big fan of his earlier in the season. On the ball, I feel like he looks like a 500k player from Stoke. But I think off the ball, he offers us quite a lot. Having said that, I think Hannibal is the better player individually, but I feel like the team looks better with Loren in it. Does that make sense? Like yesterday, like put it this way, against Cardiff, when we started Hannibal, we dropped Brownhill into the deeper role and Hannibal played in the further forward role. I know it's a bit more fluid, and then you'll see the two of them sometimes going forward and dropping back. I understand that. But then when Loren plays, Brownhill has a little bit more room to get further forward, and then Brownhill comes into the game and plays a lot better. So I agree. Hannibal is the better player individually, but I feel like Loren makes the team look better. And I'm just going to get some of your comments coming in now. Apologies again for the muted incident, which is a lot of the stuff that people are talking about in the comments. As Clarets Owl says, Joe, you're muted, mate. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Where's it gone now? Hannibal says Clarence Blue 1882. The three Joshes says Scott, so he's going Loren. But John says Hannibal every day of the week. Lauren offers a great option. I'm still Loren, says John. Phil says Loren against more physical teams. Fair point about setup, says John. Thank you. I don't think Parker trusts Hannibal alongside Cullen. I agree with that. And it's not. I don't know if it's not about him trusting him. I just feel like he maybe prefers Hannibal to be a little bit further forward, whereas I feel like the team is better to have Brownhill in that position than Hannibal, if that makes sense. Rick Williams says, would like to see Hannibal in the Loren role. Don't understand why when he starts, Brownie moves back. John goes on to say, I don't think Hannibal has played 90 minutes for us yet. Andrew, I'll come to you first on this one. What are your thoughts on the Loren / Hannibal incident? Because it kind of feels like it's one or the other at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was Rick who's put that. Was it Rick who said, play him in the Loren? Yeah, that's the one. Like, I completely agree. I like Loren. I'm still on the side of I like him. He does bring us up the pitch a lot more, but I feel like Hannibal's just got that quality that, a little bit of rawness that we can see why he was at United and why Laurent was at Stoke. And I think, I think he would work really well, but I don't want to bring Hannibal into the team to then lose Josh Brownhill in that 10, because we've seen enough of Josh Brownhill in, a more defensive role, and he's not. That's not his position. He is perfect in the 10. And I don't want us to lose that. I thought earlier in the season when we played, where we played the three Joshes and Hannibal on the left, I thought we played much, much better. However, now Anthony's playing on the left and Edwards is playing on the right. I wouldn't change that either. So, I would love to have Hannibal in there. But if it means it's going to be at the expense of Brownhill, it just doesn't work for me. As long as he's happy being an impact player and coming on, because I still think he has a big, big role to play for us this season.
Yeah, completely agree. I'm not muted, am I not? Right. MJH says Hannibal for me, but Loren maybe in certain games. I agree. I do feel like they are horses for courses types of players. Having said that, I was surprised to see Hannibal drop yesterday, and I was surprised to see Loren brought in. And I remember talking to somebody in the fan zone who shall remain nameless in case they don't want to be named, who's quite good with tactical setups and stuff like that. And he was saying it's not the type of game for Loren, this. But I think that, getting the fourth, the assist, for the last one, maybe proves that wrong. But I agreed at the time. Top 6 teams, Loren. Any other team where you need quality to open up a team, then Hannibal. Claret 22 said it would be interesting to see Hannibal next to Cullen, as he has some quite good qualities for a DM. John Payne says, I think MJH is right, certain games for certain players. I agree. David Holgate says, Hannibal is only 22 years old. He's going to be one heck of a player over the next few years. Hannibal is box to box, not a 10. Brownhill is a 10. I agree with that, mate. I do feel like Hannibal is more of your tenacious box to box number 8 type player. Which is why he always ends up starts. But that's the thing. That's what I mean about the setup. You'll see them rotating that further forward role when both of them play, which is the thing that frustrates me the more. Lee says, I still have no idea who should be where up there. It's constantly changing. I doubt Parker even knows best at what. Gary, come to you next, please, mate. What are your thoughts on the Loren/Hannibal debate?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much agreeing with what other people have put. It really depends who you're going to play. If before the match you can almost guarantee you're going to have most of the ball, then Hannibal should be starting, for example, lower league opposition. This Luton game probably should have been Hannibal, but then when you're playing the big teams, I would start Loren because he's more physical, wins you more free kicks. He's got that defensive nous about him, if that makes sense, because if I remember rightly, he used to be Stoke captain, so he knows a thing or two about leadership, winning free kicks, etc. The dark arts, as they call them. But if it was an 11 I had to pick tomorrow, I would choose Hannibal over Loren, but they both offer different qualities, much like Foster and Fleming, which we just moved on from. But yeah, it's a tough one to call, but it's Scott Parker's job to get it right, I guess. That's why he gets paid the big pennies.
Mate, that's why he's wearing a coat that costs more than our houses put together, to be fair. So we'll leave it with you, Scott. That you can go and get yourself a new Tom Brown coat if you work it all out. We'll sit here in our black Primark coats, which is pretty much what I was wearing on the turf yesterday. Let's move it on to man of the match shouts, please, lads. Everybody get your man of the matches in the comments. We will put every single one of them on screen, provided we get the chance, which we should do. But Andrew, I will come to you first. Who was your man of the match, please, mate?
I'm going to go very left field here. I thought Edwards did well. I thought Steve did well. I thought Egan Riley did well. I thought Foster did well. But my man of the match was Roberts. I thought he was absolutely outstanding yesterday, and he always puts in a solid 7 out of 10. You're always going to get a decent performance from him. But yesterday, I thought he played absolutely fantastic, and just to round it off, he shoved Barnes into the back of the net after his goal to take the piss out of Kaminski. But it summed him up for me. Did that with Roberts. So, 100% my man of the match. I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Yep, fair enough. Gary, who's your man of the match, please, mate?
My man of the match was Edwards. So, I think he played extremely well. I watched him in the Cardiff game and he messed up so many times. And I was thinking...
I feel like that event got to him a bit, the Cardiff game. I agree with that.
Yeah, we were doing poor. And then, if you remember, the Cullen yellow card, that came from... him messing up, basically. Edwards messing up, did a weird pass, and then they were through, then Cullen got the yellow. But anyway, and then after that, I don't know what happened to him, but he turned into a new player. He turned into the player that you expect, where he's dribbling inside and out. They don't know what to do. They're going to have to foul him or, let him get past. And I think he's been influential in, when previously we would be drawing a game 0-0, and then that'd be it. I think going forward, when Edwards is on it, them games are now going to be 1-0, 2-0, which this could have been with that red card, as you've seen before. But Edwards, for me, has been influential.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I can't really disagree with the fact that he's been influential. I do feel like there's no coincidence that we've now scored 10 goals in our last 3 league games as soon as he starts starting games. Yeah. And I agree. I do feel like he could be the difference between us finishing second or first, even now that Leeds have cocked up, or us finishing third. I do want to quickly go through the comments. Obviously, like I said, Scott O'Sullivan says Edwards 2 assists, but Roberts was also great for me. Martin says the ref. Love that. John Robertson says Brownhill. Simon Woodhouse says Trafford. To be fair, Trafford did make that save in the second half. But other than that, he didn't have a lot to do, to be fair. But no, that's the quality of a good keeper who can come into action when called upon out of nowhere. Bell Differ says Foster thought it was brilliant. MJH Gaming says Brownhill. Riley Platt says Connor. Tom Smith says Roberts. Phil Tricks says Connor. Paul says Foster or Brownhill. Brownhill says John. David says Cullen. Clanton 1882 says Roberts for pushing Barnes into the net, just like Andrew says. G. Smith says Edwards. Claret Owl says Edwards. Foster says John. Roberts for me says Rick. Dom says love Connor and delighted to see him get a new contract. Yeah, good point. We've not mentioned that, but it's great to see him get a new contract. I completely was not expecting that at all. MJH Gaming says Roberts is quality. So happy he signed a new contract. Literally just said that, but yeah, I agree, mate. Cullen says Martin. Stephen Parkinson says Perez because he's seen as a scapegoat and didn't put a foot wrong. I agree he played well yesterday, but there was that one incident where he messed up and got booked for it. But I'm not for 1 second saying he played badly at all. But I agree he played well, and it's good. Hopefully he can kick on from that, and you know his confidence can keep growing. Lee Greenwood says take your pick. There's about 5 of them to choose from. I'll say Foster. Dave says Naismith. George says Trafford for the clean sheet. Edwards says Twin Cities. Rick says Edwards. Russell says Roberts for L. I don't know what that means. Lee says there's definitely a change in the camp. I agree. John says Pivot looked to have a more settled game yesterday, which is good to see. Yeah, that's all the man of the matches. My man of the match, Josh Brownhill. I thought he was fantastic yesterday. Everything went through Josh. I'm surprised that some Burnley fans still don't rate him. It genuinely baffles me that some Burnley fans still don't rate him. And I was talking to somebody in the pub about it today, and they said, "Oh, it tends to be all the younger kids," but like it's not. Like I see like people of all generations that don't rate him. I understand in some games it can bypass him when the midfield is really, really good. Sunderland at home, for example. But also that might be frustrating. But in the certain games like yesterday, where he was the best player in the pitch, in my opinion, then you've just got to give him his credit. And I do feel like he is up there with probably one of the best midfielders in the Championship. Not the best, but one of the best. And I feel like he deserves more credit. Special mention for Foster, I think for me, thought he was fantastic. And also special mention for Cullen as well. I agree, both fullbacks played well, and Trafford and Steve and CJ, they always play well, so people don't really tend to give them the credit that they deserve. But lads, it's coming up to 1940. I start work in 5 minutes, so we are going to wrap it up there. Gary, thank you for coming on the show, mate. How have you found your first ever appearance on the full-time show, mate?
No worries. Been good, thanks. The tech issues earlier as well. What I've realised is the web version's a lot worse than the app. When I change it to the app, it's been completely different. So,
you know what?
Anybody has any issues in future, use the app. So
yeah, there you go, Andrew.
My hamster's giving up. I don't have a hamster anymore. Yeah. So.
Andrew, are you on the app as well, Andrew? Then
yeah, on the app on my phone. Yeah.
Yep, fair enough.
There we go.
Well, Dominic Hall says, start work, you've just been the pub. That was a lie, mate. If my boss is watching this, it was a lie for interaction and to make me seem like one of the lads. I haven't been the pub. It was a lie. I've been at home drinking Vimto. But yeah, I sit here, mate, working from home, so I don't think anybody gives a shit really. But no, it was a lie, and I was joking for the effect of the podcast. But Andrew as well, thank you for coming on the show. We know Andrew's always available. He sends a fan reaction every week. He does a full-time show every week. I could genuinely leave Turfcast and he'd probably be able to just do it himself. So, Andrew, I appreciate you coming on, mate. It always is a pleasure. Always make some good points, and thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it.
No worries, mate.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Just some sad news to end the show on. I know I've seen some people put some comments in the chat, so I quickly went on Twitter to have a look at it, and it is true. Unfortunately, Alan Pace has announced that his mother has died. He put a tweet up today saying, "Tonight we received the news that my sweet mother has left this world for her heavenly home. As sad as we are to lose her, I am comforted in knowing that she is finally together with my beloved father after so many years apart. Families can be together forever. I love you, Mum." So, Alan, not that you watch the shows, but if you ever do see this, love goes out to you, mate. And I understand how difficult a situation like that can be. So, condolences to you and the family, mate.
Just had a grandchild as well, so
yeah, I mean,
silver lining then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I noticed. Is it Ashlyn? How you pronounce it? I have her on Instagram and stuff, and I know. So yeah, it obviously good news that scenario, but yeah, thoughts with the family, mate, as well. To be fair, yeah, lads, thank you for being on the show. It's been a pleasure. If you joined late, like Phil, he says, I'm on late, so you can remind people that they can listen back after the stream has finished. Good weekend, gents. Good weekend to you, Phil, as well, and thank you for that, because I always get shit in the comments when I say this. But if you did join the stream late like Phil, then you can come back and watch it, because as soon as I press end stream, it stays on YouTube and on Facebook as a standalone stream for you to watch it back at your leisure. The podcast will be out within the next hour or two, so it will be there for your morning commute. If you'd rather just go to bed now and listen to it on your way to work in the morning, then feel free. But Andrew, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
No worries,
Harry,
mate.
thank you to you as well. It's
No
always
worries.
coming on. Always a pleasure. And now you've made your debut, mate. I'm sure we'll be glad to see more of you coming on and things like that. It's great to see. MKP says, great show as ever, guys. Andrew, player of the season, says Scott. Steve Parkinson says, can someone mute Joe again so we can get to work? Yeah, I need to go, mate. I'm going to end it now. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for commenting. It's always a great debate. I don't know what I'd do without you guys and stuff. I really do enjoy doing the shows and that. And thank you to everybody for commenting and listening and stuff. And we will see you for the pre-game, Sean, tomorrow.